Edward William Barton-Wright was a British engineer, an entrepreneur, and a martial arts pioneer, whose name is now inseparable from one of the strangest and most fascinating chapters in combat history. Born in India in 1860, Barton-Wright spent much of his early professional life as a railway engineer, working in different parts of the world during the height of the British Empire. But what made him historically significant wasn't engineering. It was his decision at the end of the 19th century to create what may have been the first deliberately mixed martial arts in modern history. While working in Japan during the 1890s, Barton-Wright encountered Japanese systems of unarmed combat, particularly jujitsu. At a time when most Europeans had little direct knowledge of Asian martial arts, he recognized that these methods offered practical advantages in self-defense, especially at close range. When he returned to England, he didn't simply bring jiu-jitsu back as some exotic curiosity. Instead, he began developing a broader system that combined Japanese jiu-jitsu and British boxing, along with European wrestling, French savate, and stick fighting. In 1899, he publicly introduced this system under the name Bartitsu, a word formed by combining his surname with jiu-jitsu. He described it as a new art of self-defense. That phrase matters because Barton-Wright wasn't trying to preserve a tradition. He was trying to solve a problem. He wanted an urban self-defense method suited to modern London, particularly for middle and upper-class men who might face violence in the street but were unlikely to walk around looking like prize fighters. This was late Victorian Britain, a society obsessed with class, as well as reputation, masculinity, and public respectability. A gentleman was expected to be controlled, disciplined, and civilized. But London was also a city of crime, crowding, and anxiety about personal safety. Barton-Wright's answer was to create a practical self-defense method that looked modern, rational, and respectable. Bartitsu was therefore never just about fighting. It was also about presenting combat skill as part of physical culture, discipline, and modern urban life. To make that vision real, Barton-Wright established the Bartitsu School of Arms and Physical Culture in London's Soho district. There, he brought together instructors from different traditions. He employed Japanese jiu-jitsu experts, those who would later go on to become important figures in the spread of jiu-jitsu in Britain. He also worked with Swiss master of stick, Pierre Vignay, whose cane method became one of the most distinctive parts of Bartitsu. In addition, the system incorporated boxing and elements of savate. This combination was highly unusual. Today, cross-training is normal. At the turn of the 20th century, it was radical. Most systems claimed superiority by asserting the completeness of one style. Barton-Wright did the opposite. He argued that different ranges of combat required different tools, and that a practical fighter should be able to punch, grapple, kick, throw, and use any everyday walking cane as a weapon. In that sense, Bartitsu was genuinely ahead of its time. The cane fighting element is especially revealing. In Victorian London, carrying a walking stick was ordinary, particularly for respectable men. Barton-Wright and Vignay turned that ordinary accessory into a self-defense tool. This gave Bartitsu a distinctly British and distinctly urban character. It wasn't just imported Japanese jiu-jitsu. It was a hybrid designed for London streets, London clothing, and London habits. Barton-Wright promoted his system aggressively. He published articles, gave demonstrations, and helped stage challenge matches between practitioners of different arts. These weren't modern prize fights, but they showed that he believed martial systems should be tested rather than merely admired. His school attracted attention, and for a brief moment Bartitsu seemed poised to become an influential self-defense movement in Britain. But the success didn't last. The Bartitsu Club closed in 1902, only a few years after its public launch. The exact reasons aren't completely clear, but cost, management difficulties, and personal disputes likely played a role. After that, Bartitsu as a named system largely disappeared. Its instructors continued teaching jujitsu and related methods, and those teachings influenced British self-defense culture, but Barton-Wright's integrated system faded into obscurity. For decades, he was remembered, if at all, only through a strange literary accident. In 1903, Arthur Conan Doyle brought Sherlock Holmes back from apparent death in The Adventure of the Empty House. Holmes explained that he had survived his struggle with Professor Moriarty at the Reichenbach Falls through his knowledge of Bartitsu, or the Japanese system of wrestling. Scholars now widely agree that Bartitsu was almost certainly a misspelling of Bartitsu. That single line preserved the name in popular memory, even after the real system had somewhat vanished. Barton-Wright himself lived until 1951, but he spent much of his later life outside the spotlight. He continued working in other fields and never became a famous public martial arts figure in the way later pioneers would. In that sense, his legacy was delayed. He created something innovative, watched it disappear, and was only fully recognized after his death. The modern revival of Bartitsu began in the late 20th and early 21st centuries when researchers rediscovered Barton-Wright's original articles and promotional materials. These sources revealed that Bartitsu hadn't been a myth, not a joke from Sherlock Holmes, and not merely a Victorian curiosity. It had been real, structured, and remarkably forward-looking self-defense system. Modern reconstruction groups, especially the Bartitsu Society, have since worked to piece together the methods he described and to understand how his school actually operated. That's why E.W. Barton-Wright matters. He wasn't the creator of jujitsu, boxing, savate, or stick fighting. His achievement was different. He was one of the first people in modern West to deliberately fuse multiple combat systems into a single method built around practical self-defense. He anticipated ideas that would become normal many decades later: cross-training, pressure testing, adaptation to context, and the rejection of stylistic purity in favor of function. In historical terms, Barton-Wright stands at a crossroads. He belongs to the world of Victorian Empire, gentlemen's clubs, walking canes, and physical culture. But he also points toward the modern mixed martial arts thinking. That's what makes him so important. He wasn't just a curious eccentric from the past, he was a genuine innovator whose ideas arrived before the world was ready for them. Edward William Barton-Wright didn't create a massive movement. He did something far rarer. He built a system so unusual, so early, and so modern in spirit that history almost lost it. And when it was found again, it became clear that one of the most original martial arts pioneers Britain ever produced had been hiding in plain sight all along. If you'd like to hear us talk about more areas of martial arts, culture, history, and far more, please do like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.